Did you know that Burton sells the snowboards, the bindings, the boots, the jackets, the pants, the gloves, the helmets, and the goggles? You probably already know that, right? I'm not sure if you've ever been to their site. You can think of the same thing about a lot of these other big brands out there, backpack companies, companies that make a lot of drinkware, amongst everything else. So every single piece, if you think about this, is on the site. Now, here's the question and the challenge I want you to take. Why don't you go and see if you can bind that all combined as a complete set, right? I've looked and I've done this with a lot of different brands and businesses. There isn't one. And by the way, it's not just a thing that's a Burton thing. This is a much bigger thing than that with a lot of brands and a lot of businesses. So I want you to stick around because one of the things I want to talk to you about is a little bit of a story about the bundling and the kitting and the value of really what happens. So I want you to think about this. I worked with another brand here recently that has longboards, and one of the fun things is that they sell them about 300 bucks. So one of the questions I kind of was thinking about and asking, well, if you think about this and your best buyer comes by, what are they going to buy? What if they want to buy the most expensive item you have and all you have is just one single product at a single price? Even if that price is big, you're limiting the capabilities potentially of what they are able to buy. So it's not because they didn't want to buy, it's because they just don't have that available. One of the biggest things that I find is that individuals with the different brands, if you're manufacturing goods and you're selling those products to different customers, different clients, often the price points of what is being placed on your site isn't just coming from the manufacturing and your cost of goods plus, but when you start putting those together in bundles or kits, a lot of the times the person who's your person behind the marketing or the person behind the package is thinking in their mind that this is really the only thing that I feel like I can afford. And so what we end up doing is positioning potential potentially the value of your brand or your business or your products based on the wallets of those people inside of the business. And that's not always the case. Okay. It's not what I would pay, it's what your best or your most ideal company would pay with you. So here's the key thing that I want you to think about and what we're going to talk about today. Okay. Is that brands that do this well add another 15, 20%, or even 25% of their sales through the simple component of bundling or putting those things into kits. Think about this. Depending on what your variety is, you might be a group that's making zero. Now, I work with a lot of different brands and businesses, and when I sit down across from them, I often find that they have very limited use of what these things are. And here's the thing is it's not that this costs more, it's not that it requires much more effort at all, to be honest with you. It's not that it requires a new product. It's usually just a combination of things that you already have, that you're already offering, and you're already putting them together. And again, I just find that this is a very underutilized option and opportunity that allows businesses, entrepreneurs, and individuals like you to go ahead and get more out of the same things, the same customers, the same list, the same amount of spend, the same amount of employees, the same systems, and everything else is just one easy way to take a look at. Now, here's what I want you to think about because this is what I want to cover in this video. Okay. What I want to do is I want to cover the question that helps decide, in essence, every set that you're going to build. And it's one that I learned. Yeah, from back when I was, from working with part of a company that sold toys, and I learned from a box of toys, really. Number 2 is I wanna talk about is the numbers that actually, help stand behind this so that you're not just taking my word, but what are the numbers and what are the validations behind this? The third thing I want you to walk away with is what I'm going to call is the kind of the pricing or the structure or the strategy that you can use to build this literally out tomorrow if you want to do so with the stock that you already have and the things that you already have in your racks that you're selling. Okay. And the last thing I want you to walk away with is what the biggest bundle is. Okay. I call it the all in bundle and what it actually does for everything else that's around this in your business. Okay. So go grab a pen. You're going to end up with a few things that you can just walk through as we go through this. By the time you're done and you're going to put your phone down and your laptop done, you're going to be able to put some things into play, hopefully differently than what you've been able to do in the past. And I'm telling you, this is a lot easier than you think. All right. So let me tell you about the dumbest thing that I ever said in a boardroom. Okay. And it was when I was working with the company and they were doing some toys. Okay. Three separate toy lines under one roof. They had a set of toys that really, if you think about this, was from the younger ages up to about 8 years old. And you ended up with a group of toys that were perfect for those 8 to 14. And then there was another set of toys that worked from about the 10 plus. Okay. Different skill sets. If you think about this, different things to play with on a variety of size of toys. Okay. So three different type of products. And I said, when we were talking about this sitting in part of a boardroom meeting, why don't we just put them all in a box? Okay, and the president looked at me and he goes, why in the world why would we go ahead and do that? You can say, oh, that was a fair question. Um, Not that it was out of place, but it was potentially just out of position just based on the company and how things normally had been run and why. And so, nobody really asked for that. If you're thinking about this and we're sitting around the table, who wants this? Or nobody's walked in and said, hey, these are the three things. Can you just put them all in a big box? And if you think about this, the box itself and the value of that box, it was going to be right around $800. Now, these toys ran anywhere from about 15 to about 100. So if you think about that, that's quite different as far as the what we were thinking about and how we were thinking about that. And here's the thing, we decided to build this anyway. I'm like, we really need to put this all together and make this offer available for those people who are going to be coming to look at the toys that you guys have on the site. So here's the crazy thing is it turned out to be one of the best things that we've ever done for that business. And again, it wasn't just a one-off buy. It was one of these key things that literally shifted part of the way we considered the products. Now, here's the thing. You step back and walk through this with me. Think about this. We've got these toys. They vary in age groups, and each one had several sets of toys because there were different size kits in each side of these. Well, guess who bought? Okay. It was the grandmas. It was the grandma who had a family with several different age grandkids, and she probably was not going to be the one there, but wanted to ship this set of goods to these families, to her kids and her children. And she wanted to make sure that everybody had something to play with. And so that's one of these key things that was a differentiator is she got the list, wanted to buy everything. You think about this, it was the whole thing and it was all handled in just one completed package, one complete kit, all ages, all the different kits for everything else. And when they show up at the front door, guess what? Everybody's taken care of. And here's the part that made this even better is when we decided to take this all in bundle and we ended up looking at these different age groups, we came out with these smaller bundle sets that were still all inclusive with everything that fit into that 0 to 8 year kit. We then included everything again that was from that 8 to 14-year-old kit, and we put those all together. And here's the great thing: is that's what the moms were buying. The moms and the dads were buying that for groups. If you think about this, not anybody really just wants to buy one monkey. They want to buy the barrel monkeys. They don't want to buy one block. They want to buy the brick of blocks. They don't want to buy just Lego. They want to buy the set or the sets of Legos. And so that's actually where a lot of this, you can think about this in your mind, even though that's a toy piece, you can be thinking about this in regards to the conveniences. And where we started again is that it's not about you and it wasn't about what you wanted to do out of your pocket. It would be who and what this might be from your absolutely your best buyer. And we'll talk a little bit about that here in a minute. So if you think about this, every decision that's normally being made currently from your business is usually being done from an employee or the person that's putting this together. And often, even yourself are doing this out of what you feel like you want to spend out of your pocket, not necessarily who and what is your best buyer or your best raving fans. Okay. So I'm going to have you write this down because it's one thing that I really want to make sure that you walk away with from the video today. And it's a question that I'm not just wanting you to think about or put together. If you think about this, it's what does the person who already loves the things that you offer ultimately actually really want for you to sell to them? If you think about this and you have a raving fan that has, let's just say, and pretend it's an unlimited pocket, why would we just want to offer them onesies and twosies? Even if you have something that's expensive on your site, why don't we want to offer them the all in piece? I thought about this just briefly. If you think about this, well, we'll just come back and see. We can talk about this later, more of like the family kit. So let's quickly get into this. I'm Nathan Erznosnik. My last venture, I had the opportunity to take a long 14 years to take a business from just a little over 4 million to 10 million. Sat there, thought it was a great thing, decided to change the way I saw the things that I was doing in business, the people that I was around, the way the business ran. And within 3 years, we were able to take that business from 10 to 30 million. So add another $20 million in the next 2.5, 3 years. And those things that I've learned are the things that I'm putting together that I'm bringing and sharing out there with other brands and companies that are making physical goods that are shipping and selling those to others that want to buy from you. Okay. So here's a few things. Now, don't take my word for this, okay? Because not just my experience from, again, going back to from the toy guy kind of a thing. This is something that you're going to find is across the board available for many brands and many businesses. In fact, top performing brands who understand the concept of bundling and the power of what it is like to put things in kits literally can add 15, 20, or even 25% more to their overall sales in an easy way. Now, as an example, there's a company called High Smile, and they have a case study on this business, the teeth whitening. And one of the things that they did is when they ended up moving into bundling, part of what they offered, they found that 80% of their orders were being done in bundles. And what they found is not only were they being done in bundles, but their average cart values were up about 20 to 25% on average as a combination. Again, this is something that happens quite a lot, and it's a lot more common, you could say, in like the cosmetic world and makeup and those types of things, skincare, etc. It's just the exact same thing, but and it really applies with anybody again that's making and providing together services. My main thing again is brands and companies that are in the world of buying and making their own products and then selling those throughout the world direct to consumer, potentially through retail shops and then potentially even through distribution. But that's a key thing to be thinking about. And so what this group ended up having, again, as I mentioned, their cart values went up, their overall sales went up significantly. It was a great way for them to change and shift from how they were selling with onesies and twos to much more in that. And again, here's the thing again, remember, this doesn't require more ads, doesn't require another hire, doesn't require more inventory. Hopefully, if you sell through quicker, it's going to require more inventory, but it doesn't require new inventory, doesn't require a new product to be created, doesn't need to be put into a new box, because the nice thing is you can pick all these, and even though it's a combo on the site, they can be individually boxed into a set that then gets shipped out. Okay. So my question for you, if you're thinking about this, I'm curious to know, are you offering items to your best seller in single items? Or are you offering them in items that come in sets that would give them a chance to spend more and buy more with things that you already have on your shelf? Okay. So that's the whole reason I really care about this. I'm really passionate. It's one of the most underutilized, the easiest, and one of the cheapest ways to make more money with the customers that you already have that are shopping from you today, whether that's coming in your store or going onto your website. This is one of the fastest, easiest, and again, the most underutilized ways because it takes everything that you already have and requires no more effort, no more time, no more necessarily skills, people, or et cetera, in order to fulfill this one key thing, which I'm going to call bundling or putting things in a kit. Okay. So, all right, go grab a pen. This is the part I'm going to actually walk through because I'm going to be giving you a couple things that have to do with three key ways to look at bundling and kitting, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about the pricing too. Okay. And so when you're bundling or kitting items, there are three major ways we're going to do this. Number one is we do this in what I'm going to call a set. And this is where we build our first set. And we'll talk about it in a minute. Number two is where we look at doubling that set. And number three is my favorite, by the way. It's the all in. This is the one that ends up at the very tip top of your entire line and of your entire set, of your entire brand, your entire product set is what that is. Okay. So these three things, what I'm going to have you do is we're going to take a look at the set, which is the first one, and this includes, in essence, my mind would say is at least three items that you would bring together that make something more complete. And I like to talk about this more as complementary items. One brand that I work with sells an item that's a lighting board, and one of the things they have are totes and, for example, magnets. That makes sense if those things get put together as a bundle. One is they already work with each other, so they're complementary, and two, they're going to make something more complete. So the first thing you can go think about, and let's go back to Burton as an example. If I'm selling a snowboard, one of the best things you can do is snowboard, bindings, and boots. Myself, as an example, when I did this, when I went to buy my ski gear, and it was really just my skis itself, I just wanted to buy the entire set of skis. I didn't want to go take off a binding I had from something that already existed, which I didn't even have. So we don't need to talk about that. But I wanted the skis, the bindings, the boots, and then I wanted the poles. I wanted to walk out with what I needed to have in order to go ski down the hill. Now, again, the next level up would be if this group said, by the way, we've got pants, hoods, hats, goggles, etc., in order to build that out, which, by the way, they didn't offer me, which is crazy. Again, as part of a bundle. Hey, by the way, we've got this. If you want to get this all in package, guess what we can do? But again, coming back, the first one is a set. Usually, what I like to say is complementary pieces that come together that are supporting of each other that work very, very well and together make something more complete as a set. So think about that. in your mind. And by the way, there's often more sets available than what a lot of people think about as far as how they can bring things together. So that's the first one. The second one is what I'm going to call is the double or the doubling of what this is. And this one's a little bit trickier. This one, in short, though, doesn't need to be complex. Literally, it's just offering more of what you already have. It's offering an expansion of what that kit is. If you got something small, you might say, "Hey, we're going to do the next size up." If you're going to do, and let's say you've got a set of colors, you can say, "Hey, this is going to be a set of all of the colors that we have available." Again, let me use something simple that just came to my mind. And again, remember, this is not for everybody. It's for those people that are wanting part of what this is that you would offer. And I just thought about this. This would be my wife as an example. Is she loves phone cases and she switches out her phone cases often. And so you can buy a phone case at a time. But if you ended up with a series of phone cases that kind of were mutually together, you would buy those. I would say that when I was looking at and part of this longboard company, it was the same thing. And he had talked about working with a few artists and they did a series. And so on his site, you actually couldn't have bought the series. And I'm hoping he did because this is one of my recommendations is why don't you just go put all three boards together in a series from the artist and sell the set as something that's whole. Again, so part of what this is on the next one is looking at something that is in addition to just the set, it's a doubling of. Yeah, again, this one tends to be something where and let me come back. I'll talk about dollars in just a minute here. But the set is sorry, the doubling is taking and adding again, kind of in simple, doubling what you're offering and just letting somebody buy more of what that is. This is something that is often done. If you think about this when you buy bulk, again, this does not mean you need to discount, but somebody might want to buy more of something so that it lasts longer or can be extended, or there's just more functionality to that. And usually that's not a complimentary thing, it's a more of something. So think about that when I talk about the doubling version. And I'm going to come back and talk about pricing on all three of these here in a minute to separate them. But the third one is the most important, and this is what I'm calling the all-in. Okay, this is it's everything. It's like I call it like if you're thinking about the snowboarding or the skiing, it's the head to toe. It's what do you need head to toe. If you think about that, what's the head to toe? Everything that would be included in that package that you could walk out the door with. Again, so if you think about Burn, it's every piece that they would have that comes together to make that entire set. And again, the question is where is this and why is it not on the side? I don't know. I was thinking about that more recently with back to school, and I was looking at another popular brand, Yeti, and I was going back. And by the way, they do lunch boxes, they do backpacks. I don't know why you can't buy that in a set. And I was looking, where is the combo in the set for the mom that wants the backpack, the lunch box, and the drink container that's all matching? That would most likely buy those all together and put them into a package. If they have them, and if you guys have other sites out there, I would love to find these. I went and spent probably about 5 to 10 minutes on these different sites trying to find where people are putting together these bundles. I do see that they have things for men and for women and for kids. And here's the best thing about all of three of these bundles is that each one can work under each one of these categories. You can do the single small sets again for the kids, for the women, for the men. You can do the doubling for the kids, for the women, for the men. You can do the all in for the kids, for the women, or for the men. You can even do an all in for the family as much as that is concerned, okay, with everything you're going to want to have. So let me just come back and talk about pricing between these three key things. What I like to talk about, and again, your prices are going to vary. I'll give you an example later here of a brand that sells things up to $40,000. But again, if you've got products that are, let's say, between 50 to $300, and you're going to put something together in a package and you're going to bundle a few things. Let's say you've got something at 30, 50, and 100. Great. Build a kit that's going to be somewhere between that 150 and that $250 mark. Let's just round that at $200 to keep that easy. Great set. If it's cosmetics and you're dealing with things that are 15, 20s, and 30s, put something together that's $79, just underneath the $100 mark. Okay, that's what we're looking at. Then you get into the set or the doubling, and we're going to expand that kit. What other accessories, what other pieces, what other colors go together for this next value? Double it. If we're at 200, you want to be between 400 to 500. If you're right around 70 to 80 bucks, you're going to double that. You want to be right around that 160 to $180 mark. Okay. If you're doing something and you've got things in the thousands, great, double that. If you're at something at around 1,000 to 1,500, double it. Where's the $3,500 option that you're going to make available? Again, and then we're going to go to the all in. The all in usually is at least probably another doubling, and sometimes it's a triple of what this number is just because of what you have available and what the price might be on those things all coming as an all in. Again, one of these brands that I'm working with, again, talking about something specifically, they have products that range anywhere between the $50 to about $300 range. The all-in package isn't 200, it's not 500. We've got a couple bundles that fit right or that around that nice 250 to $500 mark, again, with the doubling. Then we have an all-in, it's about $1,200. And before we did this with the brand and the company, they were selling just ones of different things. And when we put this all in as an all-in bundle, guess what one of our most largest driving revenue component was? It was the all-in. We're not going to talk about this, but there's a stat that just deals with businesses. Not every customer has the same buying power. Some of your best buyers and your best customers will actually have better buying power, and they're going to want to buy more from you than what you're currently potentially even offering them. Remember, not about you, about what they're going to want to have and the conveniences that they're looking to have brought together. So again, there's a couple things to think about from the pricing and the perspectives. So again, the things we just talked about, the three items, we ended up with the set, we ended up with what I call the double, okay? And then what I'm calling kind of the all-in or something that's at the very top. Now, here's something I want to tell you next that is really, really important about this all-in bundle. And it's a simple thing that a lot of people don't even know. And I want to talk to you about what this is, okay? It's the one thing that literally, it's the one thing that I would say you would build even if you don't do anything else on your site, okay? Because if you think about this and you build this and not even a single person buys, guess what the impact is on your business by having an all in bundle available? There's two major things I want to talk about that really have to do with the all in bundle. Okay. Number one of the things that it does is that it helps change everything else that's related to it, everything else that falls underneath that. So, one of the biggest things that you can find, and let me just tell you the story about a company one of the companies I'm working with. They have their all in is a 40K offer. Okay. And by the way, they sell a lot of these all in packages at 40K. Their average price, by the way, was closer to 15, even 20. If you think about having an all in at 40 and you've got another average between 15 and 20, think of how much more simplified or more general that even looks, or how much more accessible that looks because we have an all in that's sitting next to 40 to 15. And so that's one of the most powerful things that an all in bundle can do is it makes everything else just look way more accessible, way more affordable. I want to be careful because I don't always associate price and value together. So it might just feel like you can get something at a lesser value and it's easier for you to get into. And so this is one of the reasons, again, that it makes a huge difference between those things is because of where it sits. Now, the second thing, well, maybe if I were, yeah, the second thing is you're just going to sell it. What is it like if you just sell something that is an all in price? And then how much more impact does it make on your business when you end up with this thing that's an all in price and everything else gets compared to it? So, those are two of the biggest things that are usually unexpected about that third item, the all in package or the all in bundle, and what it does for your business. Again, you probably have heard of this. If not, let me just tell you this quick story that has to do with it was a pizza shop. And what I heard is that they ended up with a pizza, they put like gold foil on part of it that make it look extra fancy, and it used to be at the very bottom right of their on their menu. And what they ended up doing is they put it right up top. Hey, get our all in our this big pizza with this gold and this fluffy stuff. Well, if you think about a pizza at $40, a pizza 20 is like half off. So what they did, they ended up increasing their average pizza value, and they ended up selling more because it was all anchored on something that was a lot more expensive. Now, again, you might have heard of price anchoring. If not, that's part of what an all-in bundle does without you having to come out with a product that just feels more expensive. It's because you've kitted or you've bundled something in order to create this new anchor and this new price. So again, the big all-in bundle or the kit actually helps you in two key ways. Again, first is that it makes everything else look a lot more accessible. It gives us this price anchor. And number two, you're just going to sell to people that already wanted to spend more money with you and you weren't giving them an opportunity to do so. You're looking at selling to that person who is looking for the simplicity of ideally buying that kit all together or whatever that set was as a whole that just made it more complete. Whether they use it all or use a little bit of it, it isn't for you to decide. It's because it's what they want to do. All right. So as we're so one other thing I wanted to quickly have you take a stop at here is this is what I want to call it your tomorrow moment. These things are not hard to do. This is not something that I'm asking you to go create a new product. You don't need to go build something else differently than what you already have. What you simply can do is go put together and kit a set of what you already have on your shelves. And so that's the key thing. And guess what? If that's the case, then it can be done tomorrow. So this is my tomorrow call for you is why don't you go ahead, write down a couple of these key things, think about what the first set is that you can do, think about how you would double that, and then think about putting everything together in an all-in package and list that down on a sheet of paper and go talk to the person that's on your website and say, "Hey, let's go ahead and build this in." By the way, if you're using something like Shopify or any of these other e-commerce things, there are simple tools that allow you to bundle without having to rework SKUs. We've done this for again many clients. It makes it really easy because if you're direct shipping through your own warehouse or if you're using a 3PL, it doesn't change anything at all. It simply reorganizes it on the front of your store so that when you're offering this, you can offer the value. And yes, my recommendation is look at a couple pictures and combine a few things together, update a description on this. Don't need to, but if you do, you're going to sell a few more of them and make that available. And by the way, again, you can do that by lunch tomorrow. So that's my quick call is get it done by lunch tomorrow. Pull a list. And so here's what I want you to do in order to do that. Go ahead and just go in and pull a list. You can ask your AI in your Shopify or in your kit, hey, last 12 months of orders, and then look at separating that by customers on those who have already built and bought a bunch of stuff with you. I mean, and I want you to look at maybe these top 10 names. These are probably people that you might even know, depending on how often they've been buying from you. You might, like I said, know a couple of them by name. I know with a few of these businesses, we know a few people by name when we look at this. What I want you to think about is currently now go take a look at what the most expensive thing is on your site. So if you got this top 10 group that can buy, what is the most expensive thing you're offering? And again, my mind went for some reason, and I know we're coming up on the fall time, but I went to like boats. I went to high end boats. And if somebody's getting in high end with boats, what you don't want is just a boat. You want a boat and you want all the toys with it. So I don't know why that came to my mind, but just think about if you're going to be doing this, what is your all in? And some of this might be a combination and a mix between your hard goods and servicing or extended warranties or other things that come around with this. A lot of you might be like, oh, I'm already doing this. If you've already thought, or if you're already selling bundles, you're already kitting things, I would challenge you to see what you could do to come up with something that would be even more complete, even more whole, and even set the tier a little bit higher so that you can find because there's probably one of these clients again, if you look at where you're topped at out, that would probably want to spend even more with you. Or you're going to find another handful of customers that are going to want to just simply take and access more of what you have as a complete offering as part of that. So take a look at that and see where that's at with what you own. As you're looking at your numbers and you take a look at your top 10 clients and customers, and then you're looking at what you have available in your store on your site, that difference is going to be if I can only let my customers buy at this level, and you can start to think about an all in, that currently is your unrecognized availability and money that you can make. One quick story with one brand that I was working with recently is again, this is again that top person that fits at the very top of the list. This individual had already bought themselves everything. So they already bought an all in. And then guess what they did? They bought another all in because what they wanted is they wanted the convenience of that in different locations. So think about that. And then what they started doing is because they had family members that they were having used part of what they had purchased, their family members were like, this is an amazing tool. This is an amazing way to do my projects. They ended up buying multiple people within their family more of those products and more of those goods because not only did they love what it did for them, not only did they want that convenience in multiple spaces and multiple places in their home, they also wanted that same convenience for the ones that they love. And so this person, by the way, had spent again, think about this. You've got a set of buyers and you've got your one time buyers, you've got your lifetime value number you might have associated with your average sell through with your customers. Who knows? That might be 3 months, it might be a year, it might be more than that, depending on your product. And then you end up with this great buyer that is your best lifetime value. And then you're going to have another tier. And again, it's smaller, but of these unique individuals that just really can't get enough of what you offer. And that's one of the key things that this just helps open up. And a lot of people are like, oh, nobody's going to buy this. Let me just ask you this question. If it already is on your shelf, so you already have stock, and it can already be shipped. What's stopping you from putting together this ideal all-in system, this all-in bundle? And you might, "Oh, my customer's not gonna buy it." Well, that's your fault in not letting somebody who wants to spend more money with you spend more money with you. So my recommendation is to kind of step back and maybe look at this through another perspective and ask yourself, how can you maybe apply this, even if you are a little bit differently than you're currently doing so, in order to add more availability to you and your company? Think about this again. It doesn't require anything new, no new products, no new hires. You don't need to spend any more money on ads. You don't need to do literally anything else with your product lineup. You might have to do a couple pictures on your website. Yes, you're gonna have to put a posting in. Yes, you're gonna have to do something. Usually it doesn't require a bigger box. You might require a bigger box, but then take a look at that and just I want you to kind of think about where you're at and what that really means as part of the next thing. So now here's one more thing I want you to think about. Right now, we're sitting in right around mid-August, and guess what's right around the corner? Yes, we've got fourth quarter, and pretty much for the entire world, that fourth quarter is one of their biggest quarters in the entire year. And just imagine this. Imagine that you have the exact same traffic, and you're going to probably have more traffic. If you're growing, you're going to be putting more traffic to your company, to your website. But let's just say that everything was the same as last year. Imagine this. Imagine the same spend. Imagine the same website. Imagine the same effort, because it doesn't take any more effort. And it's not because more people came. Okay. And you wake up and you come to your dashboard on Monday, and what you find out is not only did you have orders, but you ended up with these new orders. And let's say there's three of them. And now there are these orders that are three times the size that you normally would get, because you simply decided to put something like this together. Okay. And that the great thing is because it's people that are already coming, are already wanting to, and they're now finally being allowed to buy something that fits into that budget sprite, that price that they want, and not budget in as low, but I wanted to spend more money and I wanted to care. I want more of the things that are available for me. And so that's a great way if you want to say and think about this, of putting more money in your bank account, okay, and getting more sales. And then if you were to do this, this is one of those things that would help you stop having to worry a little bit more about, are the other efforts that you're putting together going to pay off in the way that you're hoping they're going to pay off? That's a key thing to take a look at. So let me just kind of give you this last piece that I wanted to note here is, if you've got somebody now that's working with you, running your site, if it's not you, don't worry about trying to explain. Go say, hey, watch this quick video, come back with your thoughts on what you think we can do. What do our sets look like? What might we do as a doubling, and what might we do as an all in? And let's have them take a look at what you they can bring together for you. And then again, hey, what's the process that we need to do in order to make those things work the way that they can work? And great, how soon can you put this together? Often it would be like in 3 minutes. Again, we have calls with our different customers and companies that we're working through strategies. We do quite a bit with email. And when we do this, we've got some automation flows, but we're working on a campaign, for example, something specific. It's the month of August. We've got a lot that we're doing where it's kind of getting back into the fall time. Some of you guys might be dealing stuff with hunting. This group is doing things where they have family members that are going back to school. And so it's kind of this back to, and it's back to them getting into their hobbies, etc. And so getting back into this, it's very easy for us to rework a slight varied bundle kit. Again, another set based on the time, based on the month. And again, none of it requires much effort because it's already a set of products that we have. We're just reconfiguring the way they look in order to give us almost what feels like a new product. And we're not talking a lot about that, but I'll tell you, there's a lot of power that comes into the way that you can combine and bring things together, that makes them look and feel new, even though they're not. It's just a combination of things that you already own. Now, if you want anything else, I do have a one pager you can take a look at, by the way. Go ahead and just send me and comment the keyword bundle. Let me know, and we'll kick you over a sheet that you could take a look at that has these comments and some of these other things on it. And then feel free to take a look at this transcript, and then let me know. I would love to hear if you've done this and you found success with bundling. Let me know if you found like there was a challenge of what you had. When I talked and spoke about this the other day as well, I'm curious to know if you want me to look at your site with you. I'd love to take a look at what you're currently doing, how you're doing this, and what we might be able to brainstorm that would bring bundling together. And then I'd love to look at critiquing a few other things. Again, I've done this and I'm just really surprised at how many brands and companies don't have or are not putting together these packages that make it easier for people to buy who are wanting to buy, and making them shop onesies and twosies, pieces at a time. So take that with what it is. Appreciate your time. Like, subscribe, and follow. Share these things with others. If you have questions, my goal is to continue to go through the things that I've learned over the last several years that I wish I just would have known earlier on to help everybody find and move forward quicker with less effort and less time. And so they can get to where they want to go and have your financial success as found within the businesses that you've got running on. So thanks for that. And we'll talk to you later.